Any resident of Jackson, Mississippi may pass by a world-famous author every day without realizing, on their morning commute or a city stroll. Students of Millsaps College may even pass by a statue of the local author on their way to class without ever knowing who she is or of her impact on literature and history. Eudora Welty was born in Jackson on April 13, 1909. When she was 16 years old, the Welty family moved into what is now known as the Eudora Welty House in the Belhaven neighborhood. Eudora was an avid reader from a young age and knew she wanted to be a writer, but didn't think she could make a name for herself from her hometown, which had not turned into the metropolis her father had predicted. When she moved away to college, she wanted to leave Jackson to branch out, but her father's death in 1931 drew her back home, and 1119 Pinehurst Street remained her permanent address until her death in 2001.
I think I see Miss Welty's legacy alive today most acutely here in the garden. One of the things that we call the plants here in the garden are living artifacts. These are things that Miss Welty and her mother together put into this garden, and we are stewarding them into a new generation for new creatives to enjoy. Seeing this living space continue to inspire people who don't know a ton about Welty, but they want to come and just enjoy the bird song and the blooms. I love the fact that whenever the family was living in the house, all of the windows would have been opened. So the outside came inside. And so being outside, to me, I feel her life and legacy really acutely.
Welty was a pioneer of contemporary and modern literature in a time when many female writers were still using masculine pen names. Welty refused to mask herself and wrote as she pleased. She wrote on the light and the dark of the South, on the struggles of African Americans and segregation, on womanhood, on magic, on mythology, superstition, and much, much more. Welty was behind Millsaps College's first ever integrated function, insisting the audience of her visiting lecture be integrated. Welty is also famous for her photography, the subject of which was often African American women in the South. Despite how far her works have reached around the world, and despite her influence on Jackson and Mississippi as a whole, she remained humble and kept an average life here in Jackson. She chatted with her neighbors, hosted friends, and even bought her own groceries at the Jitney Jungle grocery store down the street from her house, where my own dad often checked her out and bagged her items. All of her prestigious awards, her Pulitzer for The Optimist's Daughter, her Presidential Medal of Freedom, the French Legion of Honor, every O. Henry Short Story Award, and countless others, were all stuffed into a downstairs closet in her home. I first encountered Welty in the high school classroom through her short story A Worn Path, following an old woman's journey through the woods to town to buy medicine for her sick grandson. But when I encountered her again through the McMullen Young Writers Workshop in 2022, held every summer at Millsaps College, I saw her in a new light. That workshop took me to her home, and in her home I saw a lot of myself in her. As an aspiring young female writer from Jackson, Mississippi, I saw proof that being in Mississippi didn't have to hold me back from achieving those goals.
Well, we have a wonderful partnership with both the Eudora Welty Foundation and the Eudora Welty House and Garden that in fact starts at the Scholastic Awards ceremony. A lot of the students we invite to come to the McMullen workshop come to us through that participation in Scholastic. And so then every April, there's a beautiful ceremony set up right there on the lawn of Eudora's house. And so, I mean, sometimes as many 200 will come out for this ceremony. So it's been really meaningful to preserve that link between the recognition of a young writer's accomplishment and the invitation that Miss Eudora left behind when she gave her home to the state, that it be a place for writers to gather and talk about writing, think about writing, do writing, and so kind of honoring that partnership was just a natural step as we were designing the program flow for the first workshop. One of the things that I think is important to be thoughtful about is a lot of the students coming through the workshop have possibly experienced the house already. And so it's been really important over the years to think about how to make that house visit meaningful in a way that's tailored to the experience of the workshop. For example, we all benefited from some of your hard work along with your colleagues at the Eudora Welty House and Garden to innovate the house visit experience, especially for our high school group, so that they had opportunities to interact with a working writer. A local performance poet was stationed out on the porch, and so as students moved through the home out onto the porch, they had the opportunity to do writing work with another writer. But then it also seemed especially impactful for everyone to be invited to do their own writing work in the space of the house. And some great photos came out of it that I think captured the meaningfulness of those moments. The invitation to sprawl out on Eudora's rugs, the invitation to sit amongst her piles and stacks of books and imagine perhaps your own title on such a shelf one day. I think that those kinds of opportunities are really important, especially for young writers. And so being in a space where you know other writers got started at square one just like you, I think can be really meaningful for helping visualize that journey. It's doable work if you're willing to see the dream through.
Trying to look very serious.
It's in the fine print.
Yes.
Very good.
Basically, I get 10% of any earnings. The Welty Lab comes from, or began with, the recognition that we are living through one of the most momentous cultural shifts in hundreds of years. That as we move from an era in which most books were printed on printing presses and then consumed as physical objects, we find ourselves in a place where even books that wind up being printed begin as computer files and are produced digitally. And so as we think about this big cultural shift between print books and digital books, we have to make sure that the writers that we love and that we care about are going to have a space that we help build for them in the digital environments where we now mostly read and consume information. The Digital Welty Lab invites Millsap students to get involved in this work of creating a digital future for Eudora Welty. And I'm interested in encouraging Millsap students to become scholars of Eudora Welty in the sense that they help other people find her work, give them the tools they need to explore her fiction and learn about her fiction and her life so that her legacy can live on through us as readers who care about and want to preserve the life of her works in this new digital era.
The Digital Welty Lab led me to my own internship at the Eudora Welty House and Gardens, which has granted me a rich experience with the literary history of such an influential writer and has nurtured my goal to become a writer myself. I have been an intern at the Welty House since September of 2024 and have been able to make so many connections, learn so many skills, and learn so much about myself along the way. Because of this internship, I have participated in the Mississippi Book Festival 2 years in a row. I've created a display for the Natural Science Museum's birthday celebration of its founder, Fanny Cook, who lived with Welty for a time. Over the summer, my Welty internship switched over to the Department of Archives and History, where I worked with other college students over the course of 2 months. The community I have gained because of my internship at the Eudora Welty House has been infinitely rewarding, not only in the connections I have made across state departments and publication spaces, but as well as in my coworkers. The Eudora Welty House and Gardens space has become a sort of home away from home for me, and I am eternally grateful for the opportunity to have been able to become a part of this community. Even if you aren't interested in literature or the creative arts, Welty's home can provide inspiration to anyone with a goal, no matter where they come from or where they may find themselves.